Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm sitting out here. It's a little cool, but I have some nice sun on my face. Might be squinting a little bit, but it's good lighting, so I'm just going to do the video here. Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about archetypes in women and older women. Now, Gen Z and millennials always complaining about how we Gen Xers, oh, we're poor grandmothers, we suck as aunties, we suck as mothers, we suck as grandparents, because a lot of that is because one, drugs infiltrated our community way back when, but that's a whole other issue. But two, a lot of times, we as Gen X women, we have a lot on our plate, especially Gen X Black women and women of color, and we pretty much lost ourselves. We've lost ourselves a lot, and I know I was one of them. It took me a really long time to find out who I was. Well, not find out, but to rediscover who I was, what I wanted, who am I now as a middle-aged woman and a junior crone. And there was a lot of truth telling I had to do with myself, and a lot of my philosophies that I lived in life, a lot of the truth telling that I did was through studying archetypes, metaphysics, philosophy, spirituality. So I'm going to start a series for us Gen X aunties about rediscovering who we really are through archetypes. So what are archetypes? Archetypes are universal concepts that live in the consciousness of our minds and also in the collective. So like in stories use a lot of archetypes, like older women are witches, and sometimes they have dragons and sorcerers and things like that. So these are common archetypes you see in stories, like Wicked, the bad guy, the Wizard of Oz. He's an archetype. He's a wizard, but he's also a mage. So things like that. So we have several archetypes for older women. We have like the mother, maiden, crone, which also known as the wise woman. We have the wild woman, but we also have the Greek archetypes, which are like Artemis, Athena, Hera, Persephone, Demeter. Those are archetypes I'm specifically going to elaborate more on, because those are the archetypes that help me the most. So give an example. My archetype when I was younger was very Athena. Athena is also known as like Diana or Wonder Woman. She's very much into athletics and animals, specifically horses, being outside, being a tomboy. And that's how I pretty much was when I was younger. I was very much outside. I still love horses. I saw myself, no, I'm sorry, not Athena, Artemis. Athena is more of a left brain, very logical, methodical. She was born out of her father's head, and she's more of a businesswoman, more of a she can hang with the boys, more of an executive. Not saying that you're masculine if you're an executive, but that's the Athena archetype. Now, I meant to say Artemis archetype. Artemis is also known as like Diana, who would also be Wonder Woman in stories. So I was very much an Artemis archetype, but I was also a Persephone archetype, because Persephone, she was out minding her business with her sisters, and Hades came up from out of the ground and dragged her into basically purgatory. And she spent 6 months in purgatory or hell or the underworld, and 6 months on top side. And her mother Demeter went crazy and said, I'm not going to let the flowers bloom or anything until my daughter comes back. So Persephone was met by Hecate, which is an old wise woman. She was also known as a witch, because older wise women are known as witches, to lead her out from the underworld. And every 6 months Persephone has to go back. That also represents change, dramatic change, and I've had a lot of dramatic change in my life. And also Persephone is the queen of the underworld, so she can see and be with the shades also known as people, the dead people. So those are the mystics, those are the prophets, those are the oracles, those are the mediums. And I have high mediumistic abilities and psychic abilities. I've been that way my entire life, and they were very triggered after my parents died. That's when I really started to be able to communicate and see people on the other side, the veil. So that's part of the Persephone archetype. And it took me a really long time to accept that. But because I didn't accept it for a really long time, I was out of place. And because I was out of place, I had a lot of hardships. And that's what this series is going to be about. It's going to be about helping us genx auntie get back into our place by knowing who we really are on the inside and manifesting that on the outside. So there's going to be a lot of discussion about the different archetypes and how they fit into our lives and modern day archetypes. I know a lot of people like, oh, the Greek archetypes are really Egyptian archetypes stolen from Africa, blah, 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 which is true. However, they're manifested as the Greek archetypes. So we're going to go really in depth in that and see how these archetypes can help you get back in touch with yourself. Get back in touch with yourself. So maybe the Gen Z and the Millennials won't think we're so crappy all the time. Not to say that, we have to change ourselves for them. It's not where we're changing ourselves. We are rediscovering and getting back to who we really are as women. And in order to do that, we have to do some really deep introspection. We have to do some really deep personal counseling on ourselves, because we can't really rely on the outside to tell us who we are. That's what's wrong with our society. We're relying on others to tell us who we are. We are the experts of ourselves, but we have to do the work. And that's what shadow work and all that stuff is. I'm not going to go into shadow work. There's plenty of videos about shadow work. I will touch on shadow work within this series, but I'm not going to do a whole video on it. I mean, granted, if you want me to, I will, but there's tons of videos on shadow work. Also, we're going to touch on some spirituality. I am a shamanic practitioner, meaning that I practice neo-shamanism, and I'm also in school to become a therapist. So all of that is in alignment with my archetypes. The shamans and the oracles and the priestesses of the world are the social work, not social workers, psychologists and the counselors of the world. That's our role today, because we no longer live in a tribal society. And because we don't live in a tribal society, people like myself, we don't really have a place. People who can see and speak to the shades. I know, especially in the African American community, that's like taboo. But the ancestor worship is the same. You're tapping into people who are on the other side. So we're gonna go into that, and I just want to give you a little introduction in this video. So I'm gonna leave a question down below. Who do you think you are, as far as what have you studied archetypes? Do you know what archetype you are? If not, just put that in a comment as well. And until next time.